The transmission begins. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You are not here by accident. Something beyond coincidence has guided you to this exact moment. You might think you just clicked a video, that this is another piece of content floating through the endless noise of the internet, but the truth is deeper, stranger, and far more important. What you are experiencing right now is not random consumption. It is a signal, a call across time, a message from the version of you that already exists in the future, the self who has walked through every challenge you now face, the self who has discovered the path you are only beginning to glimpse. This is not entertainment. This is a quantum appointment. Long before your mind ever knew what you would search for, your deeper awareness had already scheduled this encounter. And now, finally, you are listening. In the quantum field, all moments exist simultaneously. Your past, your present, your future, they are not separate stories spread across a linear track of time. They are overlapping frequencies, stacked layers of possibility vibrating together like notes in a cosmic symphony. Somewhere within that vastness, a version of you has already stepped beyond struggle. That self is thriving, complete, aligned, and at peace. And that self has been whispering to you, sending signals through synchronicities, through chance encounters, through sudden feelings you couldn't quite explain. Every moment of déjà vu, every repeated number sequence, every sudden gut knowing, all of it has been your future self trying to make contact. And now the transmission is finally clear. Something within you has shifted. A gate has opened. The proof is simple. You are here. The universe does not waste its energy. You would not have found this if you were not ready. This moment is your initiation. Take a deep breath and notice the change happening already. Feel the subtle current moving through your awareness. The timeline you have been creating unconsciously through thought and feeling is realigning itself. It is happening now, not tomorrow, not one day in the distant future. In this very breath, the trajectory of your reality has begun to change. Think back to a recent moment when you stopped resisting what life was showing you. When you stopped fighting against what was and simply surrendered. Maybe it was quiet, maybe it was dramatic, but there was a point when you let go of the illusion that you were supposed to control everything. That was the moment your frequency shifted. That was the moment your future self knew you were finally ready. Your old operating system, the constant pushing, struggling, trying to force outcomes, has been running your life for too long, but that code is outdated. It belongs to a smaller version of you, a self still caught in the survival patterns of the past. What is happening now is different. You are receiving an upgrade, a download of consciousness that has been waiting for you since before you could even understand it. Your future self is transmitting right now, not through words alone, but through resonance, through the felt sense that something within you is waking up. A reorganization is happening in your very cells. Your nervous system is recalibrating to hold higher frequencies. What once felt impossible is beginning to feel inevitable. What once seemed like a dream is now becoming memory, waiting to be remembered into being. Here is the truth your future self wants you to know. You do not create your reality by force. You do not manifest by demanding or begging the universe to give you what you want. Creation does not unfold through desperation. It unfolds through coherence. Consciousness collapses infinite possibilities into the single lived reality you experience, and the choices you make in each moment are the levers by which timelines are selected. Every time you choose presence instead of autopilot, every time you choose trust instead of fear, every time you choose love over resistance, you are literally shifting universes. The self you dream of being already exists. They are not some faraway fantasy. They are here, alive in a parallel track of reality, broadcasting the frequency of your highest possibility. That version of you is reaching back through the fabric of time, sending you codes of recognition. And in this moment, you are tuning into them. Notice how something in your body softens at this truth. Notice how something inside you whispers, "Yes, this is it." Because you already know, you always knew. You just needed the reminder. The secret your future self has learned is simple but radical. Reality responds not to what you want, but to what you are. Your desires are not instructions to the universe. They are echoes of your own deeper frequency. When you align with the vibrational state of the version of you who already lives your dreams, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around that coherence. And so the gap, the painful distance between who you believe yourself to be and who you truly are, begins to close. Right here, right now. Think about the mechanics of light. A photon is both wave and particle, possibility and form. Which aspect shows up depends entirely on the observer. You are that observer. You are collapsing possibility into experience every moment you remain awake. Every time you stay conscious instead of drifting into autopilot. This is the quantum observer effect, but your future self wants you to understand it at a deeper level. You are not simply watching your life unfold. You are authoring it with your attention. This means every choice to embody presence is a choice to select a higher reality. Each decision to expand instead of contract is a declaration to the universe about who you are. The self you are becoming has already mastered this. They live in a state of coherence where intention and attention dance together seamlessly. They no longer spend their energy trying to manipulate circumstances. They calibrate themselves. They tune their inner state until reality has no choice but to harmonize. You may not yet see all the changes with your physical eyes, but they have already begun. Why else would synchronicities be increasing? Why else would certain people fall away from your life while others, perfectly aligned, appear seemingly out of nowhere? Why else would opportunities that reflect your truest nature start to arrive while those that require you to compromise dissolve like smoke? This is reality responding to your new signature. This is the confirmation you asked for. Your future self wants you to stop thinking you are behind. You never were. Every delay was redirection. Every closed door was protection. Every so-called detour was preparing you for this exact frequency shift. You had to become who you are now to even receive this message. Any earlier and it would have slid past you unnoticed. The timing is perfect because you are perfect for this moment. Take another breath and declare silently within yourself, "I am already living my future." Let this declaration ripple through the field. Let it be a broadcast to every possible timeline that you are no longer waiting for someday. You are choosing now. Understand that this is not empty positive thinking. This is not motivation or self-help rhetoric. This is quantum mechanics. This is you collapsing the infinite field into a single coherent reality through the power of conscious alignment. The old version of you was always becoming. The new version of you simply is. They are abundant. They are loved. They are whole. Not because they earned it, not because they struggled enough to deserve it, but because wholeness is the default nature of consciousness itself. Your future self no longer seeks approval. They have realized that every person around them is living inside their own vibrational universe. They no longer waste energy trying to manage perception. Instead, they are too busy enjoying the flow of living authentically. This freedom radiates outward. And here is the most extraordinary part. When you step into this frequency, you do not just change your personal story, you become a catalyst for everyone you touch. Consciousness ripples outward. Your awakening creates openings for others. Your healing becomes a signal that others can follow back to their own wholeness. And yet, your future self is not asking you for perfection. They are not telling you to transcend every challenge. They are reminding you that the power lies not in avoiding difficulty, but in approaching it with new eyes. To dance with life rather than control it. To find beauty not only in what you receive, but in the act of trusting the intelligence that delivers it. If you are feeling this resonance in your body, it is because the transmission is landing. This is not just information. It is activation. The recognition that you are already more than you ever believed yourself to be. The reminder that you have always been whole and that the stories of lack were never truly yours. This is the beginning. And as we move deeper into this message, you will see why your future self has waited so long for you to hear these words. Because once you understand what is really happening, you will never look at your reality the same way again. The mechanics of timelines. Close your eyes once more, just for a moment, and picture the future version of yourself standing in front of you. Notice the details. Notice the calm presence they radiate, the subtle glow in their eyes, the unshakable sense that they already know how the story ends. That self is not a fantasy. They are not an invention of your imagination. They are a living, breathing frequency that exists now, vibrating on a different channel of possibility. The fact that you can sense them is proof that the signal is already reaching you. Your future self is not trying to change you. They are simply reminding you. Every desire you feel, every longing that stirs within you is not a request for something missing. It is memory. Desire is recognition. It is your soul remembering what is already true in another version of reality. You would not want it if it did not exist somewhere in the field of possibility. This is why the longing feels so magnetic. It is not reaching for the impossible. It is pulling you back toward what you already are. The version of you that has stepped into love, abundance, health, freedom. They are calling you into resonance. You are not climbing toward them, you are aligning with them. Think of how a radio works. All the stations are already playing. The songs, the voices, the broadcasts are all flowing through the invisible air around you at this very moment. You cannot hear them all at once, but the moment you turn the dial, one station fills the room with music. Did you create that broadcast? No. You simply tuned to the frequency that was already there. This is how your future self communicates. Not by inventing a new reality, but by inviting you to tune to the one that has always been waiting. And when you tune in, everything begins to shift. The synchronicities you have noticed lately are not coincidences. They are confirmation codes. Think about the numbers you keep seeing, the patterns of events that line up too perfectly, the strangers who appear in your life with the exact message you needed to hear. These are not accidents. They are the language of the universe, the fingerprints of your future self reaching through the veil to guide you. The more you pay attention, the more frequent they become. This is not because the universe suddenly decided to speak. It has always been speaking. What changed is your awareness. By recognizing these signs, by acknowledging them, you strengthen the channel. You move from static to signal, from noise to clarity. This is where the mechanics of timelines become so important to understand. In quantum physics, the observer effect shows us that consciousness collapses possibility into form. But what your future self knows is that you are not merely watching your life unfold. You are the one collapsing timelines into being. You are selecting which path solidifies every time you choose presence over autopilot. Pause and reflect on this. Every moment you drift into unconsciousness, into old patterns and fears, you are handing the wheel to chance. But every moment you choose awareness, you are steering your ship directly toward the reality you prefer. You are not a passenger in this story. You are the navigator. And yet, this is not about control. Your future self is not trying to dominate reality. They have learned the subtle art of calibration. Imagine a tuning fork struck against a surface. Its vibration spreads outward, and every object capable of resonating with that frequency begins to hum in harmony. This is what happens when you calibrate your inner state. Reality cannot resist harmonizing with it. Your future self no longer asks, "When will things change?" They embody the change within themselves and watch as reality re-engages to match. When they shift their relationship with time, Time itself begins to bend. Deadlines dissolve. Miracles arrive out of nowhere. Opportunities appear the moment they are needed, never too soon, never too late. This is not magic. It is mechanics. Time is not a straight line. It is a field. And when you stop resisting, it begins to serve you. You have already seen glimpses of this. The times when you were in flow, when the right phone call came at the right moment, when an unexpected encounter opened a new path. You called those coincidences, but your future self calls them evidence. And here is something even deeper. Your emotions are the control panel of this entire system. Every emotion you feel is a frequency broadcast into the quantum field. Joy calls forth experiences that generate more joy. Gratitude magnetizes more reasons to be grateful. Love expands into even more love. The universe is not rewarding you. It is simply mirroring your broadcast. Consciousness creates more of whatever it focuses on with emotional intensity. Your future self has learned that emotions are not obstacles. They are instructions. Fear is not a punishment. It is information. It tells you what station you are tuned into. And the moment you notice it, you have the choice to adjust. Instead of resisting fear, your future self thanks it for showing what needs realignment. They turn the dial, gently but intentionally, until the frequency hums with what they truly want to experience. Imagine what happens when every thought, every feeling, every action begins to align. This is quantum coherence. Like waves moving in perfect unison, they amplify each other instead of canceling out. A single thought of abundance paired with doubt and fear creates interference. But a thought of abundance aligned with gratitude, trust, and inspired action becomes unstoppable. Reality has no choice but to reflect it. Your future self lives in this coherence. They are not divided against themselves. Their mind, their heart, their actions, their beliefs all sing the same song. And the universe responds by turning that song into the soundtrack of their life. Now consider your challenges. The obstacles that frustrate you are not random punishments. They are invitations. Each challenge asks a single question. Who will you choose to be in the face of this? Will you contract into fear, or will you expand into love? Will you return to the old story, or will you embody the new one? Your future self has discovered that problems do not disappear. They transform. The same situations that once felt overwhelming now feel like opportunities to demonstrate mastery. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How is this serving my evolution?" This one shift changes everything. Suddenly life is no longer against you. Life is coaching you, sculpting you, refining you into the clearest version of who you came here to be. Relationships shift in this light as well. Your future self knows that every person you meet is reflecting your inner state. Those who resonate with your frequency stay. Those who do not fall away. This is not judgment. It is resonance. As you change your vibration, the people around you will either rise to meet it or step aside for others who do. This is why you must stop clinging to what is leaving. It is not loss. It is space being cleared for alignment. Your future self has learned to bless every departure, to honor every ending, knowing it is simply the universe making room for what matches the next chapter of their life. And here is a profound truth they want you to understand. Forgiveness is not about the past. It is about freeing your energy in the present. Resentment is entanglement. Every grudge you hold keeps you tied to the very vibration you want to escape. But the moment you forgive, you sever the cord. You release the old frequency and reclaim your power to create. This is why your future self forgives everyone and everything, including themselves. They realize they could not step into coherence while dragging chains of bitterness behind them. And so they let go. This is what you are being invited into now. Not perfection, not flawless positivity, but presence. The ability to meet every moment as it is, to feel emotions fully without being consumed, to dance with life instead of resisting it. This is not avoidance. It is mastery. It is stepping into alignment with the intelligence that has always been guiding you. Take another deep breath. Feel the weight begin to lift from your shoulders. This is not theory. This is a lived reality. You are already in it. The signs have been all around you. The synchronicities, the shifts, the whispers of intuition, they are the breadcrumbs leading you home. Your future self is not far away. They are here. They are the presence in you that recognizes truth when you hear it. The spark of knowing that cannot be explained but cannot be denied. The pulse of expansion that beats in your chest as you listen to these words. And as we move forward, you will begin to see how this awareness reshapes everything. Not just your sense of possibility, but your relationship with time, with desire, with purpose itself. The signal is strengthening. The dial is locking into place. And the music of your highest timeline is beginning to play. The quantum link between you and your future. Imagine two stars separated by infinite distance, yet bound together by gravity. No matter how far apart they drift, they remain connected, their movements shaping each other's destinies. Now imagine something even stranger, something science itself has confirmed. Two particles born together remain entangled, no matter the space between them. When one shifts, the other responds instantly, not later, not eventually, instantly. This is the key your future self wants you to understand. You and they are quantum entangled. Every shift you make in this moment ripples backward and forward through time, transforming the path between who you have been and who you are becoming. The connection is not symbolic. It is real. Every upgrade in their awareness transmits to you a sudden intuition, a download of clarity, a new idea that feels both foreign and familiar at the same time. And every act of presence you embody in this timeline strengthens them, just as their coherence strengthens you. This is why certain thoughts land with such strange weight, why certain ideas feel like they arrive fully formed, as if you downloaded them from somewhere beyond yourself. Because you did. These are transmissions from the you that has already crossed the threshold. These are your own future echoes resonating through your nervous system, reorganizing your reality from the inside out. The more you trust these transmissions, the clearer they become. Think of intuition. You felt it many times before. The quiet knowing that whispers in stillness. The subtle pull toward one path over another. The sensation that something unseen is guiding your steps. Your future self has mastered this guidance system. They know that intuition is not guesswork. It is not random hunches. It is quantum information. Direct knowing from the field of possibility. A broadcast from your higher timeline steering you toward alignment. And here is the truth. The more you follow, the more undeniable it becomes. When you listen to intuition, doors open without effort. Opportunities line up in ways logic cannot explain. What once felt like struggle transforms into flow. When you ignore it, resistance appears. Obstacles multiply. Life feels heavy and slow. This is not punishment. It is simply calibration. The universe is nudging you back into resonance with who you really are. Your future self wants you to practice trust. Not blind belief, but embodied trust built on experience. Think about the times when you followed your intuition against logic and discovered it was right. That was not luck. That was alignment. And each time you listened, the channel between you and your future self grew stronger. But trust alone is not enough. Your future self has discovered the art of embodiment. You cannot think your way into alignment. You must live it. The quantum field responds to coherence, and coherence is not built on theory. It is built on frequency. On the way you breathe. On the way you move. On the way you speak to yourself in the quiet of the morning when no one else is watching. Your frequency is not what you say you believe. It is what you embody when life tests you. This is why your future self does not wait for circumstances to change before they align with abundance. They embody abundance now, in their thoughts, in their emotions, in the way they interact with life. They do not wait to feel worthy until success arrives. They embody worthiness now, knowing that success is simply the echo of that frequency. Your future self no longer waits to feel loved until the perfect partner appears. They radiate love into their own being and into every interaction, and relationships naturally shift to reflect that inner state. They no longer wait for external peace before they choose inner peace. They begin with peace, and the outer world follows. Do you see the pattern? It is not about waiting, it is about remembering. And the remembering begins with presence. Presence is more than being mindful. It is more than paying attention. Presence is the recognition that this moment is the only point of power that has ever existed. The past lives only as memory, the future lives only as possibility. But all creation, all healing, all transformation happens here, now. Your future self has made presence their default state. This does not mean they never get distracted. They still feel the pull of thoughts, the sting of emotions, the weight of challenges. The difference is that they return to presence quickly. They do not judge themselves for slipping, they simply come back. Again and again, until presence is no longer practice. It is home, and this is where the magic unfolds. When you live in presence, you stop recycling the past into the future. You stop dragging old wounds into tomorrow. You stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. You collapse the illusion of separation and discover that your future self is not somewhere else. They are here, speaking through your awareness in this very moment. Every time you breathe into presence, you strengthen the bridge. Every time you act in alignment with intuition, you tighten the bond. Every time you embody love instead of fear, you step further into coherence. And coherence transforms everything. Think of the way a laser works. Ordinary light scatters in all directions. But when waves align, when photons move in coherence, light becomes powerful enough to cut through steel. This is the difference between scattered consciousness and focused consciousness. Your future self has become a laser beam of intention, cutting through illusion, shaping reality with precision. And you are remembering how to do the same. This is why meditation is more than relaxation. It is technology. Every moment you enter stillness, you tune your inner antenna to higher frequencies. You shift your brain waves. You rewire your nervous system. You teach your consciousness to pick up signals from the timeline where you are already thriving. Each meditation is a broadcast. Each moment of silence is an alignment ritual. Your future self meditates not to escape life, but to embody it more fully. Not to withdraw from the world, but to become a clearer channel for creation. When you meditate, you are not just calming the mind. You are tuning the dial of your reality. And here is the most profound discovery your future self has made. Emotion is the true creative force. Thoughts are important. Beliefs are important. But emotion is the fuel that drives manifestation. Every feeling you generate is a vibrational command. Gratitude amplifies abundance. Joy calls forth joy. Love multiplies itself endlessly. This is why your future self collaborates with emotion rather than resisting it. They no longer fight fear. They recognize it as data. They no longer suppress sadness. They allow it to flow through as cleansing energy. They no longer chase happiness. They embody appreciation in the smallest details of life. And because they live in coherence, reality reflects coherence back. So ask yourself, what emotion are you ready to collaborate with today? What frequency are you ready to amplify, not by waiting for life to deliver it, but by broadcasting it now? Your future self is not asking you to be perfect. They are inviting you to be aligned, to stop postponing wholeness until circumstances prove it. to begin embodying wholeness as the starting point. And as you do, you will notice reality shifting in ways both subtle and spectacular. People will respond differently. Time will bend. Opportunities will emerge from places you never expected. The universe is not changing its mind about you. It is simply mirroring the signal you are broadcasting. The message is simple, and yet it is the secret to everything. You are already entangled with your highest self. The signal is clear. The transmission is strong. All that remains is for you to trust it, embody it, and live it, because the future is not waiting. The future is now. Quantum faith and the power of forgiveness. Imagine standing at the edge of an ocean at night. The sky above is endless. The waves move with ancient rhythm, and the horizon is invisible in the dark. You cannot see what lies beyond, but you know the ocean stretches far beyond your vision. You trust it, even without proof. This is the essence of what your future self calls quantum faith. It is not blind belief. It is not wishful thinking. It is trust built on recognition of how reality actually works. Your future self no longer doubts whether life is responsive. They have seen it too many times to question it. Every synchronicity, every perfectly timed encounter, every instance of a door opening the moment it was needed, all of it has become undeniable evidence that the universe is not random. It is intelligent. It is alive. It is listening. Quantum faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It is comfort within it. The willingness to admit you may not know how your desires will unfold, while remaining absolutely certain that they will. Your future self has learned to release the need for control, to let go of the endless demand for visible proof, and to instead relax into trust. They know the universe has a far wider perspective, weaving billions of threads into the tapestry of your life in ways you cannot yet see. This faith is powerful because it frees energy. When you no longer waste your strength in worry, in endless analysis, in trying to force outcomes, you reclaim that energy for creation. You begin to live lighter. You begin to notice beauty again. You begin to move through life as though the current itself is carrying you. And it is. But here is a truth your future self insists you remember. You cannot step fully into coherence if you are still carrying the weight of resentment. Forgiveness is not about letting someone else off the hook. It is about releasing the vibrational tether that binds you to what you no longer wish to experience. Think of resentment as a chain. Each time you replay the hurt, each time you imagine what you should have said, each time you cling to the pain, you reinforce the chain. You stay entangled with that frequency. And the quantum field simply mirrors it back again and again. Your future self has discovered that forgiveness is not an act of weakness. It is the most radical act of freedom. It is saying, I refuse to carry this weight any longer. One choose to cut the cord. I choose to free my energy to flow into something new. This does not mean pretending the hurt did not happen. It means refusing to let it define you any longer. It means rewriting the meaning of the past so it empowers rather than imprisons. And perhaps most importantly, your future self has learned to forgive themselves. They have released the shame of choices made in ignorance. They have let go of the guilt of not knowing better before they knew better. They have stopped punishing themselves for being human, because they discovered a profound truth. You cannot hate yourself into a better version of yourself. You can only love yourself into evolution. This forgiveness is essential for coherence. Every ounce of self-hatred, every whispered judgment, every silent, I am not enough, is interference in the quantum field. But every act of self-forgiveness, every gentle acknowledgement of humanity, every moment of compassion toward yourself is an act of alignment. It closes the gap. It tunes the frequency. It unlocks the reality where your future self already thrives. And this is why challenges themselves transform. Your future self no longer sees obstacles as proof of failure. They see them as invitations. Each difficulty is a quantum test, not a test you pass or fail, but a test of alignment. Who will you be in the face of this? Will you shrink back into fear, or will you expand into love? Will you collapse into the old story, or will you step into the truth you now carry? Life will not stop presenting challenges, but when you meet them with presence, they shift shape. They cease to be barriers and instead become gateways to wisdom. Think of the last time life seemed unbearable. Think of the pain that felt too heavy to hold, and yet, here you are. You survived. More than that, you grew. You carry a strength now that you did not have before. You carry empathy now, forged in the fires of your own suffering. You carry resilience that can only come from standing in storms and refusing to collapse. Your future self looks back on these moments with gratitude, not because the suffering was good, but because it was transformative. They see how every heartbreak carved space for deeper love, how every loss cleared the way for truer abundance, how every fear faced became a stepping stone into courage. This is quantum alchemy, the transmutation of pain into wisdom, of struggle into strength, of darkness into light. Your future self does not avoid the human experience. They do not seek to escape the messines of life. They embrace it. They understand that enlightenment is not floating above the world, but walking fully within it while remembering the divine nature of it all. They have learned that being human is not an obstacle to awakening. It is the very stage upon which awakening unfolds. And this is what they want for you: to see that your challenges are not curses. They are sacred teachers. They are initiations into the deeper strength you did not know you carried. They are the proof that you are ready for more. So the next time you face resistance, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, how would my future self meet this? And then listen. You will feel the answer in your body. You will hear it in the subtle knowing of your intuition. You will recognize it in the calm certainty that arises when you choose alignment over fear. This is how challenges transform into gateways. This is how pain becomes wisdom. This is how you step, moment by moment, into the reality your future self has already claimed. Because every challenge you embrace becomes fuel. Every difficulty transmuted becomes power. And each time you refuse to collapse into fear, you expand a frequency of love within you, a frequency so strong that reality itself has no choice but to respond. Take a deep breath. Let go of one old resentment. Release one old chain. Forgive one moment where you thought you had failed. Feel the lightness return as you remember that you are not behind. You are right on time. This is the secret your future self has been trying to send you. You do not need to escape your life to awaken. You only need to see it differently. You only need to meet it with the eyes of faith, with the freedom of forgiveness, and with the wisdom of presence. And when you do, the world itself changes shape around you. The quantum nature of abundance and creativity. Picture yourself walking through a garden. Flowers of every color bloom effortlessly. Trees bear fruit without strain. Rivers flow without asking permission. Nothing in nature doubts its right to exist. Nothing in nature questions its worthiness to receive sunlight, rain, or nourishment. Your future self has realized that this same abundance flows through you. Scarcity is not the natural state. Scarcity is the illusion created when consciousness forgets its connection to source. The truth is simple. Abundance is who you are. And yet, in your old timeline, scarcity felt real. The worry of not having enough, the fear of missing opportunities, the pressure to chase after resources as if the universe might withhold them. These fears were never reflections of reality itself. They were reflections of your vibration. They were distortions created by an identity that believed it was separate. Your future self has moved beyond that illusion. They discovered that abundance is not about acquiring more. It is about being more. Abundance consciousness is not measured by how much you collect, but by how deeply you live in alignment with your true self. When you embody abundance, when you allow gratitude to fill your every moment, the outer world adjusts automatically. Prosperity arrives not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped blocking it with fear and doubt. Your future self does not chase money. They do not frantically demand specific amounts from the universe. Instead, they ask a different question. How can I be the clearest expression of my gifts? How can I serve in a way that is authentic and valuable? This simple shift changes everything. Money and resources become side effects of alignment. Prosperity becomes the natural byproduct of contribution. Life begins to flow because you are no longer chasing outcomes, you are broadcasting coherence. But abundance is not limited to finances. Your future self embodies emotional abundance, giving love without rationing it. They live in mental abundance, with thoughts expansive rather than restrictive. They move in spiritual abundance, knowing themselves as inseparable from infinite intelligence. This is why their life feels full, no matter the circumstance. They are no longer starving in the desert of lack. They are drinking from an endless river that never runs dry. And here is where creativity enters. Your future self discovered something profound. Creativity is not an activity. It is your very nature. You are not a being who occasionally creates. You are creation itself, expressing through human form. Every thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of reality. Every choice is choreography in the dance of existence. Every moment is alive with the opportunity to sculpt reality through the vibration you bring to it. Think about the last time inspiration struck you out of nowhere. The flash of an idea. The urge to build, write, paint, move, or speak. That energy felt bigger than you, didn't it? It felt like something coming through you rather than from you. That is because it was. Your future self has learned to get out of the way and allow creativity to move freely. They stopped clinging to ownership, stopped claiming every idea as mine. Instead, they began to see themselves as a channel for consciousness itself. The collective unconscious, the great field of human wisdom, is constantly searching for vessels through which to express itself. And when you become available, open, present, authentic, inspiration flows through you like a river. This is why creativity feels so divine. Because it is. And this changes everything. Work is no longer a burden. It becomes play. Conversations are no longer ordinary. They become collaborations of energy. Even the simplest acts, cooking a meal, arranging a room, speaking to a stranger, become opportunities to bring art into existence. Your future self understands that creativity is not limited to artists, musicians, or inventors. Creativity is life itself. Every choice you make, every vibration you send, is an act of creation. And when you approach life from this perspective, every day becomes extraordinary. Now, let's go deeper. Your future self discovered that purpose is not something you search for outside yourself. Purpose is not a hidden treasure buried in some career path or mission statement. Purpose is frequency. It is the unique way consciousness expresses through you. It is the vibration of your authentic being, expressed in the choices, actions, and presence you bring into the world. Your future self no longer spends energy chasing purpose as if it were hiding somewhere. They embody it. They live it moment by moment. Purpose reveals itself not in grand gestures, but in small alignments. In the way you speak to someone with kindness. In the way you bring light to a room by being authentic. In the way you allow your true nature to shine through every interaction. This realization freed your future self from pressure. No more anxiety about finding the right calling. No more fear of missing their destiny. They discovered that their purpose evolves as they evolve. That each step into authenticity is purpose fulfilled. That serving from overflow, giving from alignment, loving from truth is all the purpose they ever needed. And because they live this way, Life supports them effortlessly. Doors open not because they force them, but because the frequency of purpose naturally unlocks them. People respond not because they were persuaded, but because authenticity is magnetic. The universe aligns not because they demanded it, but because they finally aligned with themselves. This is what your future self wants you to know. You are not behind. You are not lost. You do not need to search for your purpose. You are already living it every time you act in coherence with who you really are. Pause and breathe this truth in. Notice the weight it removes. Notice the peace that fills the space once occupied by pressure. Your purpose is not somewhere else. It is here. It is you. And when you live like this, abundant, creative, authentic, you generate a field that touches everyone around you. Your frequency becomes service. Your very presence becomes healing. You stop trying to save others and instead radiate such wholeness that they remember their own. This is true abundance. This is true creativity. This is true purpose. Your future self has been living this way for a long time, and they are reminding you that you can step into it right now. The question is not, when will I find my purpose? The question is, how deeply am I willing to embody the truth that I already am it? Intuition, timing, and the art of flow. Close your eyes for a moment and remember a time when you just knew. You couldn't explain how. Logic didn't support it. But something inside you whispered, go there, call them, wait here, say yes, say no. And when you followed that voice, everything lined up. The result was uncanny, as if the universe had conspired to reward your trust. That voice was intuition. Your future self has learned to trust this voice above all others. They know that intuition is not fantasy, not wishful thinking, not luck. It is quantum information, a direct signal from the field of infinite possibility, guiding you along the path most aligned with your highest timeline. Your mind speaks in analysis. Your emotions speak in intensity. But intuition speaks in subtlety. It does not shout. It does not argue. It is the quiet pull in your chest, the soft but undeniable nudge that feels like truth before you can explain it. Your future self has become fluent in this language. They learn to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom. Fear is loud, urgent, and frantic. Intuition is calm, steady, and often inconvenient to the ego. Fear tells you to cling to safety. Intuition invites you to step into growth. Fear says, don't risk it. Intuition whispers, this is the way. And when you begin to follow it consistently, something miraculous happens. Life starts to flow. The obstacles that once seemed immovable begin to dissolve. Doors that were closed swing open effortlessly. What you used to chase begins to arrive uninvited. But here is the secret your future self discovered. Intuition works hand in hand with timing. In the quantum field, time is not a straight line. It is not a strict march from past to future. It is a living fabric of overlapping possibilities, constantly rearranging itself around the vibration you broadcast. What you call timing is simply the universe's way of orchestrating events with precision you could never calculate. Your future self stopped pushing rivers. They stopped forcing outcomes. They learned that aligned action is powerful only when taken in the right season. And they learned that waiting is not passive. Waiting is trust. Waiting is active alignment. Consider the seed planted in soil. No matter how much water or sunlight it receives, it cannot bloom before its season. Forcing it only destroys it. But when you wait with trust, the sprout arrives at the perfect moment, breaking through the soil as if by magic. This is how quantum timing works. Your future self acts when the door opens, not when the ego demands. They rest when the current is still, not out of laziness but because they know movement will return. They flow with seasons, trusting that both action and stillness are sacred parts of the cycle. And this is where flow emerges. Flow is not about controlling life. It is about dancing with it. It is the state where you stop treating reality as an enemy to conquer and start experiencing it as a partner. In flow, effort feels effortless. Time feels different. Hours pass like minutes. The right words appear without thought. The right people show up as if summoned. Your future self lives in this rhythm. They no longer burn themselves out with frantic striving. They no longer fight reality with resistance. Instead, they surf the waves of life, adjusting their sails to the winds rather than cursing the storm. They discovered that resistance is the only true source of suffering. What you fight persists. What you embrace transforms. And so they began to collaborate with reality instead of resisting it. This does not mean they became passive. On the contrary, their lives became filled with inspired action. The difference is that every action was born from intuition, aligned with timing, and carried out in flow. This combination creates exponential results. What once took years now unfolds in weeks. What once felt impossible becomes natural. Your future self wants you to understand something vital. You do not need to have the entire path mapped out. You only need to follow the next signal. Like walking by lantern light at night, you may only see a few steps ahead. But the light moves with you. The path reveals itself as you walk. This is how intuition, timing, and flow weave together. Intuition shows the next step. Timing reveals when to take it. Flow carries you once you move. And the more you live this way, the more miraculous your life becomes. Think about it. Every time you ignored intuition, you felt the cost. The wrong choice, the unnecessary struggle, the heavy weight of resistance. But every time you listened, reality seemed to bend in your favor. That is not accident. That is evidence. Evidence that you are connected to something greater. Evidence that your future self is speaking to you through every whisper of guidance. And so your invitation is simple. Begin listening more closely. Begin trusting more fully. Begin acting more courageously, even when it makes no logical sense. Even when others don't understand. Even when fear shouts louder than wisdom. Because your future self is already living in the flow of intuition and timing. And they are showing you that you can step into it too, not someday, but now. Take a breath. Feel the calm pull in your chest. That is the signal. That is the voice that has been guiding you all along. And as you trust it, you will find yourself swept into a rhythm so harmonious that life feels less like survival and more like music. Because this is the truth, you were never meant to force, you were meant to flow. The quantum healing of your past. Imagine your life as a book filled with chapters. Some of them are bright, filled with laughter and joy. Others are heavy, written in ink that feels darker than the rest. Those pages carry your hardest memories, the heartbreak, the loss, the betrayal, the moments when you thought you would never recover. In your old timeline, you believed those chapters defined you. You believed the pain of the past was permanent, that what had happened would forever weigh on your present and haunt your future. But your future self has discovered a secret that changes everything. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about transforming the meaning of the past. Quantum healing is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering that at the deepest level, nothing was ever broken to begin with. Every wound, every trauma, every scar exists as energy in a particular timeline. But when you shift into a higher timeline, the one where your future self already thrives, the meaning of those experiences changes completely. Think about it. The event remains the same. The heartbreak still happened. The betrayal still occurred. The loss was still real, but your relationship to it evolves. In one timeline, that pain means you are unworthy, unlovable, broken. In another, it means you were initiated into strength, into compassion, into wisdom. The story changes, and when the story changes, so does your reality. Your future self has looked back at their darkest moments and seen them with gratitude. Not because the experiences were pleasant, not because the pain was enjoyable, but because every wound carved space for expansion. Every heartbreak cracked open the heart to hold more love. Every loss created the emptiness that allowed something new to be born. Every challenge became training for the strength required to hold abundance. This is quantum alchemy, the transmutation of suffering into wisdom, of shadow into light. Your future self no longer wastes energy trying to heal the past by reliving it. They know that energy is better spent embodying wholeness now. When you live from wholeness, the story of brokenness dissolves. When you live from love, the story of unworthiness becomes irrelevant. When you live from abundance, the story of lack has no place to stand. And so, your past becomes rewritten, not by erasing it, but by reframing it. It becomes the foundation of wisdom instead of the evidence of pain. This is why forgiveness is such a vital part of healing. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It is about releasing the entanglement with that timeline. It is saying, I no longer wish to vibrate with this pain. I no longer choose to let it dictate who I am. I release it, and in doing so, I free myself. Your future self has forgiven not only others, but themselves. They have forgiven the moments when they lashed out, the choices made in fear, the opportunities missed because they were not yet ready. They stopped carrying shame as a burden and began carrying wisdom as a gift. Because here is the truth. Self-forgiveness is the doorway to coherence. You cannot step into your highest frequency while holding yourself hostage to the past. You cannot hate yourself into healing. You can only love yourself into evolution. Your future self has realized that trauma was never the end of the story. It was the beginning of transformation. They look back now and see how the very wounds they once despised became the catalysts for their awakening. The heartbreak that shattered them forced them to rebuild from truth. The loss that gutted them forced them to discover the part of themselves that cannot be taken away. The failures that humiliated them forced them to align with deeper integrity. This is the gift hidden in every wound, the realization that pain is not punishment. It is initiation. And when you accept that, your entire perspective shifts. Life stops being a cruel test. It becomes a sacred teacher. Every difficult moment becomes evidence that you are being shaped for something greater. Every scar becomes proof that you are stronger than you once believed. Every tear becomes water that nourishes your growth. Your future self is not untouched by hardship. They are not free from struggle because life became easy. They are free because they changed their relationship to struggle. They no longer collapse under it. They expand through it. They no longer ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" They no longer see wounds as signs of weakness. They see them as symbols of strength. And this is what they want you to feel right now. Nothing in your past has the power to define you. It only has the power you continue to give it. The moment you reclaim your power, the past transforms. It becomes fuel for the fire of your becoming. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Think of one wound you have carried for too long. See yourself holding it in your hands. Now imagine your future self standing before you, smiling with compassion. Watch them take that wound from you and show you what it has become in their timeline: wisdom, strength, compassion, resilience. See the pain transmuted into light. See how it shines as part of your soul's design. Feel the release as you let it go. This is healing. Not forgetting, not denying, but transforming. And as you embody this truth, your future self whispers, "You were never broken. You were always becoming." The moment you see this, your body responds, your cells remember, your nervous system recalibrates. The tension you have carried begins to dissolve. You are not healing into someone new. You are returning to what you always were, whole, complete, divine. This is the quantum healing of your past. This is the moment where the story shifts forever. The quantum nature of relationships and the power of love. Picture the people in your life as mirrors. Each one reflects something of you, sometimes beauty, sometimes shadow, sometimes lessons you never expected. Relationships are not accidents. They are the clearest reflections of your own inner frequency. Your future self understands this deeply. They know that everyone who enters their reality is an energetic response to the vibration they are broadcasting. Some people arrive to amplify joy, others to challenge old patterns, still others to mirror wounds that are ready to be healed. None of it is random. All of it is resonance. In your old timeline, you may have believed relationships were about fixing others, saving them, or convincing them to change. You may have thought your worth was tied to whether people stayed or whether they approved of you. But your future self has released all of that. They no longer carry the burden of control. They have discovered that the only true power in relationships comes from alignment with self. Here is what they know. When you shift your frequency, relationships reorganize themselves. Some people will rise to meet your new vibration, drawn into coherence with your growth. Others will naturally drift away, their resonance no longer matching yours. This is not loss. It is alignment. It is life clearing the stage for those who belong in the next chapter. Your future self does not chase. They do not cling. They do not beg others to understand them. They live their truth fully and the right people appear. Those who cannot resonate simply fade, leaving space for those who can. This is the quantum principle of resonance. Like frequencies attract, unlike frequencies dissolve. Think of it like tuning instruments in an orchestra. When one violin finds perfect pitch, the others naturally align to it. But if an instrument is out of tune and refuses to adjust, the sound of harmony cannot include it. In the same way, when you live in coherence, those ready to join your harmony will. Those who are not will leave the song. And your future self accepts this with love. They no longer judge people as good or bad, worthy or unworthy. They see everyone as expressions of consciousness at different frequencies. They can love people exactly as they are, while also honoring their own evolution. They no longer shrink themselves to stay in resonance with someone unwilling to grow. They no longer betray their own alignment just to be accepted. This shift has transformed every relationship in their life. Friendships have become deeper, filled with truth instead of performance. Partnerships have become sacred, based on resonance rather than dependency. Even interactions with strangers feel profound because the frequency of authenticity radiates in every encounter. And underneath it all, one force drives everything: love. Not the limited love you once believed was fragile, conditional, dependent on circumstances, but the love that is the very fabric of consciousness, the love that creates worlds, the love that has no opposite because it includes everything. Your future self has stopped seeking love as if it were something to be given or taken away. They have remembered that love is not something you get. Love is something you are. This realization changed everything. No longer do they ration love, saving it for those who deserve it. No longer do they withhold love from themselves, waiting until they are perfect. They radiate it freely, knowing that the more love they give, the more love flows back. Not because they expect a return, but because love naturally multiplies itself in the quantum field. And this has made them magnetic. Opportunities are drawn to them. Abundance flows toward them. People feel safe in their presence, inspired without even knowing why. Because love is the ultimate frequency of coherence. It aligns everything else. Your future self wants you to know this. Love is not weakness. Love is the greatest power you will ever wield. It is the frequency that heals, the vibration that creates, the energy that binds timelines together. When you choose love, you are choosing alignment with the very intelligence that orchestrates the universe. Think about this. Fear contracts. Love expands. Fear closes doors, love opens them. Fear separates, love unites. Every time you choose love over fear, you collapse a higher timeline into being. Every time you radiate love in the face of challenge, you shift not only your reality, but the collective field itself. And this extends to every kind of relationship. Your future self sees romantic love as a mirror of divine connection, not as a desperate search for completion. They no longer seek a partner to fill their emptiness because they know they are already whole. Instead, they attract partners who resonate with their wholeness, creating a love that is expansive, creative, and free. They see friendships as sacred collaborations of consciousness, not as contracts of convenience. They see family as both biological and chosen, souls traveling together for mutual evolution. They see strangers as reflections, each encounter carrying meaning, no matter how brief. In this way, every relationship becomes an expression of love. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to embody coherence. Every connection becomes a chance to expand the field of love around them. This is why your future self radiates peace. They no longer take things personally because they understand that everyone is acting from their own frequency. They no longer cling to resentment because they see that judgment binds them to lower vibrations. They no longer worry about how others perceive them because they know perception is just reflection. Instead, they are too busy enjoying the richness of living in love. Take a moment now to imagine what your life would feel like if you embodied this truth. Imagine walking into a room and feeling no need to prove yourself. Imagine interacting with people without fear of judgment. Imagine releasing relationships that no longer serve you without guilt, trusting that new ones will appear in perfect timing. Imagine loving yourself so deeply that the universe has no choice but to echo that love back through every connection. This is not fantasy. This is the frequency your future self already lives in. And the fact that you can imagine it means you are already tuning into it. Love is the frequency that heals the past, transforms the present, and unlocks the future. It is the master key. And your future self has been sending you this reminder again and again. Stop searching for love outside yourself. Start remembering that you are the source. Because when you embody that, everything else aligns. The power of surrender and quantum faith in action. Imagine standing on a cliff at sunrise. Below you, the valley is covered in mist. You cannot see the full path winding through it. You cannot measure every turn, every obstacle, every hidden crossing. And yet, you know without question that the path is there. You trust that as you take each step, the ground will appear beneath your feet. This is what your future self calls living through quantum faith. It is the willingness to move even when the entire map is not visible. It is the trust that life is orchestrated in such perfect precision that you do not need to see the whole plan. You only need to follow the next step, the next signal, the next whisper of intuition. Your future self discovered that uncertainty is not something to fear. It is the fertile ground from which miracles grow. In quantum physics, the uncertainty principle shows us that some things cannot be measured at the same time. The more you know one quality, the less you can know the other. This is not a flaw of reality. It is the design. Life itself requires space for possibility. And this is the lesson. You are not meant to know everything in advance. You are meant to trust enough to walk forward anyway. Your old self tried to control outcomes, to plan every detail, to demand certainty before moving. But your future self knows that certainty is not found in circumstances. It is found in consciousness. When you are certain of who you are and certain of your alignment, the how no longer matters. The universe becomes infinitely creative in bringing outcomes about. This is quantum faith in action, complete trust in the unseen orchestration of reality. Think back to the times when things worked out better than you could have planned, when delays turned into protection, when disappointments cleared the way for something greater. When what looked like the worst moment became the seed of transformation, these were not accidents. They were the universe proving its intelligence. Your future self has learned to surrender. Not surrender as defeat, but surrender as alignment. They no longer waste energy fighting the current. They no longer exhaust themselves trying to bend life to their will. Instead, they trust the current and adjust their sails. They participate in creation without resistance. And here is the paradox. Surrender creates momentum. When you stop gripping tightly, when you stop clinging to outcomes, when you release the demand for life to unfold exactly your way, energy flows freely. Possibilities expand. Opportunities arrive that you cannot have calculated. Life begins to surprise you with how much smoother it can be. Your future self has mastered this rhythm. They take inspired action, but they do not force it. They follow intuition, but they do not panic if things look uncertain. They rest when rest is needed, and they move when the signal is clear. In this way, they never burn out. They never collapse under the weight of constant effort. Instead, they ride the wave of momentum that surrender generates. This does not mean they never feel fear. It does not mean they never doubt. The difference is that they do not let fear make the decisions. They acknowledge it, breathe through it, and then return to trust. Because they know from experience that trust is always rewarded. Imagine what your life would feel like if you lived this way. If every time uncertainty appeared, instead of panicking, you smiled. Instead of worrying, you whispered, "The universe is moving pieces I cannot see." Instead of grasping, you released, and in that release, life rearranged itself in your favor. Your future self wants you to feel the liberation of that, to see that surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the realization that life is not happening to you. Life is happening through you, with you, for you. And when you live this way, the flow becomes unstoppable. Your future self has witnessed this again and again. The moment they stopped resisting, synchronicities multiplied. The moment they surrendered, the opportunities aligned. The moment they released attachment, love, abundance, and peace flowed in effortlessly. Surrender is not about giving up on your desires. It is about trusting so deeply that you no longer strangle them with fear. It is about holding your vision lightly, with open hands, knowing that what arrives will be even better than what you imagined. Because the truth is, your future self never had less by trusting. They only ever received more. So take a breath. Feel the tension in your body begin to loosen. Let go of one thing you have been gripping too tightly. Whisper to yourself, "I surrender this to the intelligence that knows more than I do. I trust the timing. I trust the unfolding. I trust my future self is guiding me." And as you say it, notice the space it creates inside you. That space is freedom. That space is possibility. That space is power. Because surrender is not the end of control. It is the beginning of alignment. And alignment is where miracles live. Quantum resilience and the hidden gift of every challenge. Close your eyes and think back to the hardest season of your life. The nights when you thought you couldn't go on. The mornings when you woke heavy, wondering if anything would ever change. The moments when it felt like the universe had forgotten you. Now realize this, you survived. More than that, you carried something through that season that you did not have before. Strength, depth, compassion, resilience. Your future self has discovered that those dark nights were not detours away from destiny, they were training grounds for it. In the old way of thinking, struggle was seen as punishment, challenge was seen as failure, pain was seen as proof that something had gone wrong. But your future self knows the deeper truth. Every challenge was preparation. Every difficulty was an initiation. Every setback was a sharpening of your inner edge. This is quantum resilience. Quantum resilience is not just the ability to bounce back. It is the recognition that every fall is fuel, that every crack is an opening, that every loss expands the capacity for abundance. When you understand this, you stop fearing challenge. You begin to welcome it, knowing that life never tests you to break you. It tests you to show you what you are capable of. Think of how muscles grow. They do not expand by being coddled. They expand by being pushed, by being stretched, by being challenged until the fibers tear and rebuild stronger. In the same way, your soul has grown through every challenge. Each wound was a workout for your consciousness, building strength that cannot be taken away. Your future self looks back and smiles at the moments that once felt unbearable, not because they enjoyed them, but because they can now see the hidden perfection. The heartbreak that once seemed cruel became the reason they discovered unconditional love. The rejection that once burned became the reason they stepped into self-worth. The losses that once shattered them became the reason they discovered abundance beyond the material. They are grateful now because without those storms, they would not carry the resilience needed to hold the blessings they now experience. This is why your future self lives with such ease. They are not afraid of life. They are not fragile in the face of change. They are steady, rooted, unshakable, not because life became easy, but because they became strong. Strong enough to hold abundance without fear of losing it. Strong enough to love deeply without fear of heartbreak. Strong enough to walk boldly without needing guarantees. Quantum resilience means you are no longer defined by what happens to you. You are defined by the consciousness with which you meet it. And so your future self does not avoid difficulty. They embrace it as part of the path. When storms come, they do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" When uncertainty rises, they do not collapse, they expand. They see challenges not as evidence of misalignment, but as opportunities to prove alignment. This is why they no longer regret anything. They see that every misstep taught them wisdom. Every delay forced them to trust timing. Every ending carved the space for a new beginning. And here is the paradox. The more resilient you become, the less life feels like struggle. Not because challenges disappear, but because they no longer shake you. You meet them with trust. You face them with calm. You walk through them with presence. And in that state, difficulty loses its power to control you. Your future self wants you to know nothing was wasted. Not a single tear, not a single disappointment, not a single night of despair. Every piece has been woven into the fabric of who you are becoming. Take a deep breath and let that truth land. The struggles did not set you back. They set you up. They carved the container to hold more light, more abundance, more love than you could have imagined before. And this is why your future self radiates gratitude. They look back not with bitterness, but with awe. They see how perfectly life sculpted them, shaping their consciousness through every experience. They see that easy roads rarely create strong souls, but challenges polish you into brilliance. So the next time you face resistance, remember, this is not the universe working against you. This is the universe strengthening you. This is life preparing you to step into the frequency you've been asking for. Quantum resilience means you no longer fear breaking. You know that every crack lets the light through. You no longer fear falling. You know that every fall builds the strength to rise higher. You no longer fear loss. You know that what is truly aligned will always remain. This is the hidden gift of every challenge, and your future self is proof of it. The quantum art of presence. Close your eyes and bring your awareness to this very moment. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, just here, just now. Listen to the rhythm of your breath. Feel the weight of your body resting exactly where it is. Notice how, in this stillness, everything you truly need is already here. Your future self has mastered this recognition. Presence is the most powerful state of consciousness you can embody. In your old timeline, your mind lived in two places, the past and the future. You replayed regrets, looping stories of what should have been, what could have been, what was lost. Or you projected yourself into futures that had not yet happened, worrying about outcomes, anticipating failures, waiting for the day when things would finally be better. But here is the secret your future self has discovered. The past exists only as memory, and the future exists only as possibility. Neither are real. The only reality you will ever experience is now. Presence is not just paying attention. Presence is the recognition that this moment is the only point of creative power. It is the portal through which all transformation happens. The past cannot hurt you when you are fully present. The future cannot scare you when you are fully present. Everything collapses into this one eternal now, and in this space, you are free. Your future self does not live in regret. They no longer punish themselves by reliving old mistakes. They understand that the past cannot be changed, but its meaning can. They look back with compassion, knowing that every version of them did the best they could with the awareness they had. They do not carry shame forward. They carry wisdom. And they no longer live in fear of the future. They know that fear is simply imagination misused. The same energy that paints worst-case scenarios can be redirected to envision higher timelines. They trust that the future is not something they must chase. It is something that emerges naturally from presence. This is why your future self radiates peace. They are not torn between past and future. They are rooted in the now. But do not mistake presence for passivity. Presence is not doing nothing. Presence is everything. When you are present, your awareness sharpens. You notice opportunities that distraction would have hidden. You hear the subtle whisper of intuition more clearly. You respond to life instead of reacting to it. This is the art of presence, to inhabit life fully, to meet each moment without the filters of fear or regret, to experience reality as it is instead of as your mind insists it should be. And when you live this way, something miraculous happens. The boundaries between you and the world begin to dissolve. You stop feeling like a separate self battling against reality, and you begin to experience yourself as reality itself. You no longer watch life from the outside. You become life, moving, breathing, unfolding. Your future self knows this is the deepest form of freedom, because when you are fully present, you stop resisting what is. Resistance is what creates suffering. Presence dissolves it. Think of it this way. When a storm passes through, the tree that resists, stiff and unyielding, risks breaking. But the tree that bends, rooted but flexible, survives and grows stronger. Presence is this bending. It is not collapse. It is alignment with the rhythm of life. Your future self lives this daily. They eat with presence, tasting every flavor. They listen with presence, hearing not just words but the energy beneath them. They walk with presence, noticing the small miracles in every step, the way light hits a leaf, the way air fills the lungs, the way existence itself feels like a gift. And because they live this way, they are never in a rush. They are never late. They are never behind. Time expands for them because they are not fighting it. Presence collapses time into a single eternal moment, and in that moment, everything needed is already there. This is why your future self is free from both regret and anxiety. Regret dissolves because they no longer live in the past. Anxiety dissolves because they no longer project into the future. What remains is clarity, peace, and power. Presence is not a destination. It is a practice. Even your future self drifts out of it sometimes. The difference is that they return quickly. They notice when they are caught in mental loops, and they gently return to the breath, to the body, to the now. They do not judge themselves for slipping. They simply come home again and again. This is what they want you to understand. Presence is available to you right now. You do not need to meditate for hours on a mountaintop to access it. You do not need to wait until your life is perfect. You can choose it in this very breath. Take a moment and try it. Breathe deeply. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Notice the sensations of being alive. This is it. This is presence. And in this state, you are closer to your future self than ever, because presence is the bridge. Presence is the frequency they live in. And the more you practice it, the more you collapse the distance between who you think you are and who you are becoming. This is the quantum art of presence, to step fully into the only moment that has ever existed. And in that step, to discover that you are already free. Purpose as frequency and service through authenticity. Close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you are no longer searching for purpose. Imagine the constant question, what am I meant to do? Why am I here? What is my calling? Dissolving completely. Feel the relief of that weight lifting off your shoulders. Your future self has discovered the secret. Purpose is not something you find. Purpose is something you embody. In your old timeline, you may have believed purpose was a single mission hidden somewhere in the future, a destination you needed to discover or else risk wasting your life. This belief created pressure, anxiety, endless striving. But your future self knows the truth. Purpose is not a job, a title, or a grand project. Purpose is frequency. It is the unique way consciousness expresses through you in every moment. It is your authentic vibration, the energy you bring to every action, every conversation, every choice. Your future self no longer chases purpose like a hidden treasure. They embody it by living in alignment. When they speak truthfully, they are living purpose. When they share kindness, they are living purpose. When they follow intuition, they are living purpose. Every act of authenticity is purpose fulfilled. This realization freed them completely. They stopped fearing that they were behind. They stopped waiting for the perfect role, the perfect opportunity, the perfect clarity. Instead, they began to live their authenticity right now. And in doing so, life responded with opportunities that reflected that frequency back in bigger and bigger ways. Purpose is not about scale. A small act of authenticity ripples outward just as powerfully as grand gestures. Your future self knows that smiling at a stranger, listening with presence, creating something from the heart, these acts shift timelines just as much as major achievements. Because what matters is not the size of the act. What matters is the vibration behind it. And this is where service emerges. Your future self has realized that the highest form of service is not sacrifice. It is authenticity. When you embody your true nature, you broadcast a frequency that reminds others of theirs. When you live aligned, you become a mirror of possibility. When you give from overflow, not obligation, your service becomes effortless, natural, and powerful. This is why your future self does not burn out. They are not draining themselves trying to save the world. They are radiating their authentic vibration, and that radiance naturally lifts others. Their very presence is service. Their wholeness is healing. Their alignment is inspiration. Consider this. You can only take others as deep as you have gone yourself. You can only hold space for their healing to the degree that you have embraced your own. You can only love others as much as you love yourself. This is not selfishness. This is mechanics. You cannot transmit a frequency you are not embodying. Your future self embodies this truth every day. They live from authenticity, and as a result, everyone around them benefits. Their purpose is not something they do once in a while. It is who they are. And this has transformed their entire experience of life. Work is no longer separate from purpose. Relationships are no longer separate from purpose. Every moment is infused with meaning because they understand that purpose is presence in action. Your future self wants you to feel the freedom of this now. Stop waiting for the perfect role, the perfect timing, the perfect clarity. You are already living your purpose every time you show up authentically. Every time you align with truth instead of pretense. Every time you follow intuition instead of fear. This is the quantum nature of purpose. It is not a single path. It is infinite expression. It evolves as you evolve. It expands as you expand. And it requires nothing more than you being fully yourself. Pause for a moment and imagine living from this truth. Imagine waking each day not with the pressure of, "What is my purpose?" but with the joy of, "How can I embody my authenticity today?" Imagine every action, no matter how small, radiating with meaning. Imagine the peace that comes from knowing you cannot miss your purpose because it is not something outside of you. It is you. And this is why your future self is so free. They are no longer bound by comparison, no longer trapped in the illusion that someone else's path is more meaningful. They know that every authentic expression of consciousness is sacred. They know that their contribution matters simply because it is true. And the more they embody this, the more life expands around them. Opportunities arise not from chasing, but from resonance. The right people appear, the right collaborations unfold, the right doors open, because purpose is magnetic. Alignment is magnetic. Authenticity is the most attractive force in the universe. This is your invitation now. Stop searching. Start embodying. Stop waiting for the grand mission. Start living your truth in small ways. Stop believing that purpose is elsewhere. Start remembering that it has been within you all along. Because your future self is proof, purpose is not what you find. Purpose is what you are. Intuition as navigation and the dance of timing. Imagine standing in a vast forest. The path ahead is hidden beneath layers of mist. You cannot see the full journey, but you notice something subtle. The way the air feels fresher in one direction. The way a faint beam of light filters through the trees. The way your body seems to lean ever so slightly toward one turn instead of another. That is how intuition speaks. It does not demand. It does not shout. It whispers. It nudges. It guides. Your future self has become fluent in this language. They no longer dismiss these signals as coincidence. They no longer override them with logic or doubt. They trust them because they have learned that intuition is not random, it is quantum communication. It is the signal from your highest timeline transmitted through subtle sensations, feelings, and synchronicities. When you begin to follow these whispers, life starts to feel different. You notice the phone call that arrives at the perfect moment, the chance meeting that changes everything, the sudden idea that feels both brand new and deeply familiar. This is not luck. This is the map unfolding. Your future self has discovered that intuition is not occasional, it is constant. The signal is always broadcasting, but most people drown it out with noise, with fear, with distraction, with endless chatter of the mind. When you quiet the noise, you hear the signal. And when you act on it, reality bends to meet you. But here is the deeper truth. Intuition works hand in hand with timing. The universe does not operate on your schedule. It operates on alignment. And your future self has stopped trying to force doors open. They know that a door closed today may be the very same door that opens effortlessly tomorrow. The difference is not the door, it is the timing. They live by this truth. Forced action creates resistance, but aligned action creates flow. Waiting is not weakness. Waiting is trust. Waiting is the recognition that the universe is arranging pieces beyond your sight. Think of a symphony. If the violin enters too soon, the music falls apart. But when it enters at the perfect moment, the harmony is breathtaking. Life is the same. Timing is everything. Your future self embodies what could be called quantum patience. It is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is knowing that the seed has already been planted and will bloom in its season. They water it with presence. They nurture it with alignment. They trust that when the moment arrives, the unfolding will be effortless. And here is where the art of flow emerges. Your future self does not push against life. They dance with it. They move when the rhythm calls them. They rest when the rhythm is still. They know that flow is not luck, it is alignment with timing. It is the result of listening to intuition, trusting the pauses, and acting when the signal is clear. This is why their life looks so effortless. They are not burning themselves out with constant striving. They are not chasing every possibility frantically. They are moving in rhythm, guided by the inner compass of intuition and the outer orchestration of timing. And because they live this way, manifestation becomes natural. They no longer chase outcomes. They align their vibration, follow the whispers, wait for the rhythm, and act with precision when the door opens. This combination collapses timelines quickly. It feels miraculous, but it is simply mechanics. Coherence plus timing equals effortless creation. Your future self wants you to know this. You do not need the full map to move forward. You do not need to know every step. You only need to listen for the signal, trust the timing, and act in flow. The rest reveals itself as you go. Think of walking by lantern light at night. You cannot see the whole path, but you can always see the next few steps. That is enough. Because with each step you take, the light moves forward, revealing more of the way. This is how intuition and timing guide you. One whisper, one step, one moment at a time. And the more you trust this process, the more life becomes a dance instead of a struggle. You no longer feel like a victim of chance. You feel like a partner in creation. You no longer feel like you are forcing your way forward. You feel like you are being carried. Take a breath and feel into this truth. You do not need to know the whole journey. You only need to take the next step in alignment. Your future self is already guiding you, already broadcasting, already waiting for you to trust the signal. Because when you do, you discover that the path has always been there, waiting for you to walk. Quantum creativity and life as your masterpiece, imagine standing before a blank canvas. For a moment, it is pure potential, infinite possibilities waiting to take form. Every stroke of the brush could create something new. Every choice could shift the picture entirely. This is what your future self understands about life itself. It is not a static picture you are forced to live inside. It is a living canvas, and you are the artist. Your future self discovered something profound. Creativity is not an occasional act. It is your nature. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every decision is a color. Every feeling is texture shaping the way your reality looks and feels. Whether you are conscious of it or not, you are painting your life every day. In your old timeline, you may have believed creativity belonged only to artists, musicians, writers, or visionaries. But your future self knows the truth. Every human being is a creator. You are not excluded. The difference lies only in awareness. Those who know they are creating choose their brushstrokes intentionally. Those who forget they are creating paint unconsciously, then wonder why the picture looks the way it does. This is why presence is so powerful. When you are present, you hold the brush consciously. You stop painting with fear, regret, or doubt. You begin painting with love, clarity, and inspiration. Your future self has learned to collaborate with creativity instead of trying to control it. They understand that inspiration does not always come from effort. It comes from openness. It arrives in stillness, in presence, in surrender. It comes when you stop trying to force genius and instead allow consciousness itself to move through you. Think back to the times when inspiration struck suddenly, when a solution appeared in your mind out of nowhere. When an idea arrived so whole and complete, it felt as if it had been delivered rather than invented. This is what happens when you open to the collective field of consciousness. The ideas, archetypes, and innovations that humanity is ready for are already pulsing in that field, searching for open channels. Your future self became one of those channels. They stopped trying to own creativity and instead became a vessel for it. And because of this, their life itself became art. They no longer separate creativity into compartments, art here, work there, ordinary life somewhere else. They see everything as creation. Cooking a meal becomes an act of artistry. Speaking words becomes an act of poetry. Relationships become symphonies of energy exchanged between souls. Even silence becomes a canvas upon which presence paints meaning. Your future self wants you to see your life this way, not as something happening to you, but as something being created by you. Not as a fixed story, but as a masterpiece still in progress. And here is the most liberating part. Mistakes are not failures. They are brushstrokes that add depth and texture. Even the darkest colors on the canvas can make the brightest ones shine more vividly. Your future self looks back and sees that nothing was wasted. Every shade, every layer, every choice contributed to the beauty of the final piece. This is quantum creativity, the recognition that reality itself is your medium. And once you embrace this, you begin to play. You begin to experiment. You stop fearing mistakes because you realize the canvas is never finished. You can always add new strokes. You can always shift the image. You can always create again. Your future self embodies this playfulness. They move through life with curiosity rather than control. They approach challenges as puzzles, not punishments. They approach opportunities as invitations, not obligations. And in this playful energy, creation flows freely. Now here is the deeper truth. Your life is not just your art, it is also your gift. Every authentic creation you bring into the world, whether it is a piece of music, a conversation, a moment of kindness, or simply the frequency you radiate, becomes part of the collective masterpiece. The field is enriched by your expression. Humanity itself evolves through your authenticity. This is why your future self stopped comparing themselves to others. They realize that no one else can paint their canvas. No one else can create the art of their life. And no one else's masterpiece diminishes their own. Your future self wants you to feel the freedom of this. Stop doubting your creativity. Stop believing you are not an artist of reality. You are. Every choice you make is shaping the picture. The only question is whether you will create unconsciously or consciously. Take a breath and imagine your life as a canvas. Imagine yourself holding the brush. What colors do you want to bring forward now? What emotions will shape the texture of this next chapter? What vision is your soul ready to paint across the infinite backdrop of possibility? Because your future self is already painting boldly. They are already creating fearlessly. They are already living as the artist of their reality. And they are reminding you now, the masterpiece of your life is not finished. It is only just beginning. Imagine dropping a single pebble into a still pond. The ripples spread outward, touching every part of the surface, moving far beyond where the pebble first entered. What seems like a small act in one place transforms the entire body of water. This is how your future self understands destiny. It is not only about you. It is about the ripple your awakening sends across the field of consciousness. In your old timeline, you may have believed your life was isolated, disconnected from the whole. You may have felt that your personal growth mattered only to you, that your healing was yours alone. But your future self knows better. They have seen how every inner shift sends vibrations outward, touching lives you may never meet, influencing possibilities you may never see. Your alignment strengthens the field for everyone. Every time you choose presence, you make it easier for others to choose presence. Every time you embody love instead of fear, you amplify that frequency in the collective. Every time you live authentically, you give silent permission for others to do the same. This is why your future self no longer doubts their importance. They understand that their very existence is service, not because they stand on stages or lead movements, but because they live aligned. That alignment ripples across the quantum field, creating coherence in the collective. And here is the profound truth. Destiny is not a fixed script. It is a timing of readiness. Your future self knows that certain shifts could not happen until you were ready. Certain doors could not open until you carried the frequency to walk through them. Certain opportunities could not appear until the collective itself reached the resonance to sustain them. Destiny is not about waiting for fate. It is about aligning so completely that the perfect timing reveals itself. Think of how flowers bloom. Each species has its season. No matter how much you wish the rose to open in winter, it will not. But when the season is right, the blossom cannot be stopped. Your life unfolds the same way. Certain chapters require the soil of preparation, the rain of challenges, the sunlight of healing. And then, suddenly, the bloom? Your future self smiles at this timing. They no longer rage against the seasons of waiting. They trust them. They know that the pauses were not punishment. They were preparation. They know that delays were not denials. They were alignments. They know that destiny is always on time. And because they trust this, they walk through life with grace. This trust extends beyond the personal. Your future self also sees the collective awakening happening now. Humanity itself is shifting frequencies, stepping out of survival patterns and into higher awareness. The synchronicities you notice are not yours alone, they are part of a larger signal, a collective remembering. Every time an individual awakens, the field becomes stronger. Every person who embodies presence makes it easier for the next person to do the same. Consciousness is contagious. Alignment spreads. Love multiplies. This is why your personal journey matters so much. You are not awakening in isolation. You are a vital cell in the body of humanity. Your healing contributes to the healing of the whole. Your coherence strengthens the coherence of the field. Your future self has seen this ripple in action. They have watched how one act of kindness shifted the course of a stranger's life, how one moment of courage inspired someone else to rise, how one choice to embody love in the face of fear sent vibrations that traveled far beyond what the mind could track. This is destiny in motion. Not a script written for you, but a field you are co-creating with every thought, every action, every vibration. And here is the most humbling realization your future self carries. They are both small and infinite. Small in the sense that they are one human among billions. Infinite in the sense that their frequency touches everything. They no longer need to be more important than others. They no longer need to prove significance. They rest in the truth that simply existing authentically makes them an irreplaceable part of the whole. Take a moment and breathe this truth into your heart. Your awakening matters. Your healing matters. Your alignment matters. Not just for you, but for everyone. The ripple is real. Your future self wants you to feel the weight of this, not as pressure, but as empowerment. You are not powerless in the face of the world's chaos. You are not insignificant in the vastness of the cosmos. You are a field of consciousness capable of shifting reality with your very presence. And every time you choose alignment, you strengthen the timeline not just for yourself, but for all of us. This is why your destiny is not separate from collective destiny. They are braided together. And as you awaken, you carry others with you. You are not just living your life. You are co-creating the future of humanity. The final transmission. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Feel the truth of everything we have explored settling into your body, into your heart, into your very cells. You are not listening to this by accident. You never were. This moment was written long before your conscious mind could comprehend it. This is not the end of a video. This is the end of an old chapter of your life and the beginning of a new one. Your future self has been whispering through synchronicities, through intuition, through moments of déjà vu and strange alignment. They have been waiting for you to recognize what you are now ready to see. You were never separate from them. You were never less than them. You were always them, unfolding into recognition. Everything you thought was holding you back, the past, the pain, the challenges, the delays, was not punishment. It was preparation. Every storm you survived carved the strength you now carry. Every heartbreak you endured stretched your capacity to love. Every loss you faced expanded your ability to trust. Every moment you thought was breaking you was, in truth, building you. And now, you stand at the threshold. The version of you who has already awakened, who has already aligned, who has already embodied abundance, peace, and love, that version is no longer a distant possibility. They are here. They are you. The separation you felt was only perception. The timeline has collapsed. The gap has closed. Your future self wants you to remember the truth. You are not a passive observer of reality. You are the author. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the creator. You are not behind. You are right on time. Breathe that in. Feel it in your chest. Let it resonate in your bones. This is not a hope. This is not a wish. This is who you are. From this moment forward, you are no longer waiting for your future to arrive. You are living it. You are embodying it. Every breath you take, every thought you focus on, every act of love you choose, these are the brushstrokes of your destiny. And the masterpiece is unfolding right now. Your presence is your power. Your love is your frequency. Your authenticity is your purpose. Your resilience is your strength. Your alignment is your service. This is what your future self has been begging you to see, not because you lacked it, but because you had forgotten it. And now you remember, so let this be your declaration. I am already living my future. Speak it, whisper it, write it, carry it in your heart. Let the quantum field register it. Let the universe rearrange itself around this truth. Because the moment you claim it, reality responds. You are safe to be powerful. You are safe to be visible. You are safe to be abundant. You are safe to be loved. The story of limitation is over. The story of contraction is over. The story of waiting is over. This is your moment. This is your timeline. This is your awakening. And as you embody this, you do not just transform your own life. You ripple through the collective. You strengthen the field of awakening. You become a beacon that others recognize without words, a signal that reminds them of their own truth. This is the final message your future self sends you now. Stop searching for the miracle. You are the miracle. Stop waiting for the sign. You are the sign. Stop doubting your worth. You are infinite, whole, and complete. Take one more deep breath. Feel the union of your present self and future self merging into one. Feel the coherence locking into place. Feel the peace of knowing that you are no longer becoming, you already are. The transmission is complete. Now live it.